Moving to the western side of my ward, something equally bold and visionary, we're imagining for the North Branch Industrial Corridor. We just concluded one of the largest land use and zoning transitions in the history of the city of Chicago. Over the course of a year and a half, with more than 25 public meetings, countless revisions, the North Branch is now primed for a new identity to be the driver of economic growth throughout the city of Chicago. When the North Branch Modernization Framework Plan passed the City Council in June on a 46-2 roll call vote, it was a strong message from my colleagues that they understand what's at stake for our future viability as a competitor in the global marketplace. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for redevelopment in this city on a scale not seen since the Great Chicago Fire. I'm excited and privileged to be the alderman that will represent this area, sparking economic growth and transforming our entire city. What we are embarking upon right now will not only keep jobs in the city, but will attract new talent and employers. We're working to move existing industrial uses into areas of the city that makes more sense. The goal is retention and attraction both. One company you all know, and several of their representatives are here, is Finkel Steel. They're still a Chicago-based company. They're still producing parts for airlines and other users as they once did in the Second Ward in another part of the city. But on the land that they once occupied, it sits vacant. In the past, I've alluded to a blank canvas ready to be drawn upon. We have a lot of artists in the city planning department. We have others in the private sector. We all have our ideas. There's actually been a lot of rumors about what may or may not go there. It would be irresponsible and inappropriate for me to specifically mention any of the companies that are rumored because they are just rumors. But I can tell you when I hear about $5 billion worth of investment in 50,000 jobs, it really brings a smile to my face. But the truth is, we don't know yet what's going to be on that parcel of land, or many of the other parcels of land for that matter. There's some great ideas out there. We're just now beginning the process of deciding what will be built where. But I do know this, whatever does get to occupy those parcels will generate significantly more in tax revenue for the city of Chicago than the estimated $300,000 that Finkel Steel paid in their last year occupying that land on their property tax bill. That is nothing compared to the economic potential of this entire corridor once it's redeveloped to the best and highest use. And that's my challenge as an alderman, is to define what is the best and highest use. I have a lot of partners involved in that. I'm listening closely to the community. We've had an open, transparent, community-driven process with Second Ward residents telling us what they want to see, where they want to see it, what they feel they need to make sure that their neighborhood can accommodate the type of growth that we're talking about, and that there's community benefits from each and every project. This is actually not in the Second Ward, it's in Pilsen, but it's an example of a public-private partnership that the Department of Planning cited during their review process for the framework plan. This is the St. Anthony's Hospital campus in Pilsen. As you can see, they incorporated a soccer pitch into their development, which is open to the neighborhood. There's youth soccer leagues there. Local residents can play. This is the kind of thing that we're looking at for the recreational needs of the area as it currently exists. The people who live in the ward that I represent tell me, and I believe them, they don't have enough recreational space as it is. So if we're going to expand the population, we're going to bring in new residents, we're going to bring in new jobs, this has to be a part of it. This is mandatory. During the debate over the framework plan, we asked for 15 acres of additional parkland in the North Branch corridor. We got 10, but we're not done. There's so much opportunity and so much potential there. I believe before this is over, we're going to get the full 15 and even more so. The city space plan that was adopted by the city of Chicago back in the 90s called for 4 acres of parkland for every 10,000 residents. We are woefully short of that goal here in the year 2017. The city of Chicago currently ranks 14th in the nation among urban areas for recreational park space. Even with our lakefront, even with our great forest preserve system that rings the city like an emerald jewel, we still have a deficit of recreational space. This development proposal for the North Branch can address that, and it will address that. That's mandatory. I'm proud that I was able to get the commitment for 10 acres, and we're going to keep forging ahead. Transit and infrastructure is also going to be key. We have to accommodate the needs of the city as it exists right now to allow for growth. The analogy I've been using is you want to set the table before you sit down and have dinner. We're starting this right now. We're working on the transit and transportation infrastructure that can accommodate the kind of growth we're talking about. Streets like Clybourne and North Avenue right now are gridlocked every day during rush hour. We can't expect major developments to flourish. We can't expect to attract major developments if when they come here to kick the tires on the city of Chicago, it takes them 10 minutes to go one block. That's unacceptable. In October of last year, I introduced an ordinance calling for 90% of all developer impact fees to remain within the North Branch corridor and be used to address our transportation and infrastructure needs. After a series of tough negotiations, I was successfully able to attain a commitment for 70%. Not quite the 90 that I wanted, but close to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, where 80% of developer impact fees are allocated to other parts of the city. We're going to use that 70% locally to repair and build items like streets and bridges, vital things that we need to make the area accessible and inviting for economic development. We're also going to use it for recreational needs. One of my favorite projects, as many of you know, is the 606 Trail. This is actually in the state of Wisconsin, and this is the Elroy Sparta Trail. I see some friends of mine that I've ridden this trail with. The Elroy Sparta Trail was one of the first rails to trails projects in the country, really made it possible for all the others that followed, like the 606 Trail. But this trail in Wisconsin features 3 narrow, dark limestone tunnels, including one that's almost a mile long. And when they first constructed the trail, they were concerned that cyclists wouldn't really want to ride on this trail because they'd be intimidated by this dark, dank tunnel. It was too far within the Wisconsin wilderness to get power to, so they couldn't light it. But they said, well, let's build it and see if they come. And they have come. It is now one of the destinations for cycling tourists. It's a must ride. You've got to go through the famous tunnels on the Elroy Sparta Trail. They come from all over for the privilege of doing that. We have an opportunity with the 606 Trail to do something similar. This is the Z6 swing bridge, the only remaining example of this type of bridge design in the country. It's a swing bridge with its pivot point actually on the shore instead of on a center pier, still in somewhat limited use today. This could be adaptively reused as part of a 606 trail extension, could get us across the Chicago River, and tourists would come from all over the country, just like they do the Highline Trail in New York, like the Elroy Sparta and the 400 Trail in Chicago, to ride across the famous swing bridge. I've also been working with the planning department to conduct a pilot test for something called CirTrack. This was developed by Carnegie Mellon's Traffic Institute. This enables traffic lights to track vehicular movement and adjust themselves in real time. It adjusts their signals independently to maximize traffic flow at intersections. This was successfully used in Pittsburgh. In the study area, it decreased wait time at red lights by 44%, decreased travel time by 26%, and decreased road emissions by 21%. Now, something Pittsburgh has in common with my ward, especially in this area, rivers, right? We all know Three Rivers Stadium. We have the Chicago River, we have Goose Island, we have arterial grid streets, and we have arterial angle streets, just like the study area. If it can reduce travel time by 26% in Pittsburgh, I believe it can do that in Chicago. The city planning department and the transportation department agrees with me. We're bringing this technology to the city of Chicago. So let me just end on this note. For the last 5 years, the city of Chicago has led the country in corporate relocations. I welcome those jobs. I welcome the employment. I welcome the new development and the opportunities that it brings. The North Branch has the ability to accommodate the live, work, play lifestyle that so many of these companies are looking for. And this summer, the City Council supported this vision and endorsed the future. I have a 2-year-old son, Ryan. I think about the opportunities for him, and what occurs to me is the neighborhood I live in now, everything that he could want for the course of his life, the decisions that he's going to make, the things that he's going to gravitate towards. I don't know what those choices will be, but whatever they are, he can find them just a couple of miles from the front door of his home. To me, that is what the city of Chicago represents, and we have so much more to do. I'm thrilled to be a part of this decision-making process right now. We get to put a brush to the canvas that I mentioned, and we're going to lead. We're going to provide the leadership to make this happen. It won't be easy. There's always resistance, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Together, we own it. Thank you very much.